The first search expedition was sent out in 1848 with the ships Enterprise and Investigator under the command of James Clark Ross. They found the main passage to the south blocked by heavy ice, so they assumed that would be just impossible for ships to go down it. So essentially they spent a huge effort looking in completely the wrong direction. In reality, he was the closest to get to the lost ships for many years. It would be 9 years after the departure of the expedition before the first solid news of where they ended up was brought home by the Scottish explorer John Rae. He was working on a survey for the Hudson's Bay Company when he met some Inuit people who had in their possession relics of the expedition, sort of items of clothing, silverware, pieces of wood, stuff which could only have come from the British ships. John Rae brought back information told to him by Inuits that he met of men travelling over land, dragging sledges and boats, and the unwelcome news that they had resorted to cannibalism as the last futile way of trying to preserve their lives. John Rae brought his information home in 1854, but that was just about the start of the Crimean War, so there was quite a hiatus before a new expedition could be sent out. That was an expedition led by Francis Leopold McClintock, and he led a very successful expedition to find the location where Franklin's ships were ultimately abandoned. The main point of interest was King William Island, and Rae had information that the last of the men had crossed onto the North American mainland. So McClintock organised sledge teams to cover both sides of King William Island. The most significant relics discovered were an abandoned boat on the west side, and that contained 2 skeletons and a huge amount of material. The Victory Point note was the most significant piece of information that was brought back by any of the expeditions. It gave a brief summary that the expedition had circumnavigated Cornwallis Island and wintered at Beechey Island, and then after passing down Peel Sound, the ships had become beset in ice. The ice didn't melt the next year, and so in 1847 the ships were abandoned and the men tried to make their way to the mainland. The men struggled valiantly, but ultimately they just didn't have the equipment, they didn't have the training, they didn't have enough food to get very far. The fact that they got as far as they did, and we know that some of them did cross from King William Island onto the mainland, the Adelaide Peninsula. The fact that they got that far is a testament to their endurance.